So welcome to our panel on EID. Now, you all came here through an airport or even through a security check, and you had to show an ID, your ID card, your passport. But what if some people don't have a passport anymore for discriminatory reason or exclusion reasons? What if certain data or access, maybe for age reason or human rights, need a different kind of identifications? This is what we are going to discuss on this panel. And let me introduce my guests, Maria Gabriela Sarmiento. She's a lawyer by trade, but a human rights activist or advocate by heart. And we'll hear her story and why she brings this topic is close to her heart. Nick Guger, member of the Swiss Parliament, who has many, many topics on his heart. One of them is all the topic of identification for human rights, but also for age control, for protection of youth. Professor Ong, Vincent Ong, from Regent's University in London, also many topics on his heart. And he's the director of the business and entrepreneurship division of Regent's University. And he will bring his perspective from a technology point of view, a governance point of view as well. So it's really a pleasure to welcome the three of them. Let's give them a hand.
We give the hands back to you.
So, Nick, how can a digital identity improve people's freedom and rights, especially in undeserved regions?
First of all, thank you that you came to listen to us. I think it's a very important topic. I'm also a member of the Council of Europe. And I would like to start with a small story, if you allow. Did you know here, everybody I think knows Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock had a movie, a cinema movie in end of 1999, 25 years ago. They stolen her identity. Is there somebody in? You know this film? I'm now 55 years old. I got really scared when I saw this movie because it was like a prophecy. I said this will come true. And you see where we are now. So I am now a member of the Swiss Council in the Federal Palace. And when I started in 2000, since 8 years, in 2017, I started to make awareness about cybersecurity and about cyber and the AI. Everybody was laughing about me. They said, Nick, you are a dreamer. Yes, I'm a dreamer. I have big dreams. But I'm also a junkie for humans. Because everybody here inside is unique. And now coming to your question about EID and humans and in not privileged regions. I'm running around the world to make awareness, to be aware what's going on. I'm the Swiss chairman for cybersecurity. I invite you. There are not so much people, but if you are interested, let me know. We have the Swiss Cybersecurity Days. Come there and listen there. There is the FBI coming, Taiwan is coming, India is coming. And I could now talk the next 50 minutes, but I have two colleagues. So to make aware, everybody who is here in, please go as a policymaker. Go and stand. Be brave for these clear rules, because I tell you, I'm in every computer. I make you an example. I'm in a board for Chinese. No, they don't have right now Chinese cars. For Jeep from USA and made in Italy. Now came a Chinese company, very nice company. They asked us, the board, to be partnered with us, with their cars. But you know, every action I do in the car goes direct there. Be aware of that. Nobody's aware of that. So everybody knows my moves. And now I have a burden. The burden is, did I want to sell these cars? But I tell you honestly, even I don't have a Tesla. But even Elon Musk knows every of your moves. So I will give you back because I'm a storyteller.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'm sure there's plenty of stories. And thank you for using your example. So we talk about data governance. We talk about cybersecurity as being a very important topic. And to take a little bit another angle, and question to you, Gabriela, what are the reasons and the risk to implement EID, especially in authoritarian governments or countries?
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me here. And well, the room is very small. I think you hear everybody's hearing. Okay. Thank you very much again for being here, for inviting me here, and thank you also to Davos Lodge. I have to start also with a little story so you get interested. So I am economic migrant. I am a permanent resident in Switzerland in 2020. I've been here for 10 years. By 2020, everything was perfect. I'm a lawyer. I have a PhD. I have a master. Nothing could, I could not foresee anything strange happening to me in the future about identity. But I come originally from Venezuela, and Venezuela got trapped into this sort of a dictatorship, authoritarianism, whatever you want to call it. And they stopped issuing passports or renewing the passports to human rights defenders, to journalists, to opposition party members, to whatever, to anyone. They didn't want it to renew the passport. But in the other side, they were selling passport for $5,000 to $15,000 to Middle East citizens. So, and I got into this trap where I could not use or benefit from fundamental human rights just because I didn't have a stupid identity. I thought identity. Well, identity is the key that opens the door to any single human right that you are enjoying today. From your bank, from your education, from social security, from taxes, and from healthcare, etc., etc. So, what did I find out as an alternative? I found out this. This is a green passport, a Swiss passport for foreigners. Okay, this exists in many countries in the world, but nobody tells that. The immigration authorities don't tell this story to anybody. They don't want you to bother them with your issues, because it's not only about Venezuela. It's Syrians, it's Ethiopians, it's a lot of other people who are migrants, and we have already 230 million migrants in the world. So imagine now that we have only like 42% of governments who are in democracy, the other 60% are autocracies. So, and many of these 231 million migrants might come from these countries. So that's why I got interested into self-sovereign identity. Sorry. And that's why I got interested in an alternative. I'm into something that will provide an identity to every single human being in this world, but it's not based on only a central authority, something that is, I was interested in this idea of decentralized identity and decentralized identifiers. That's how I started getting into this, and that's why I co-founded non-for-profit associations called Save My Identity and Save My Identity with another 3 organizations called Apatriot Network, the Rohingya Project, and Coalition for Venezuela. We founded what is called the Blockchain for Human Rights. We are trying to promote the responsible use of blockchain in the digitalization of identities. This is what we are promoting. And we want legal identity for everybody, of course, and a proof of identity for every single person in the world. If you don't know, there are 1 billion persons in the world without legal identity and a proof of identity. And I stop here.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure you would you would have more time to explain the story, but thanks for allowing us to enter in your situation and represent this big population that is affected. So bringing it as a technology on blockchain or others, having different profile, different identification. Professor Ong, what is the risks of such technologic solutions?
I guess, first of all, I don't have a story, but I just want to say that just a few days ago, back in the UK, and the government said that now they are going to launch, digital driving license. Now, the question why it took so long, right, for a form of digital identity to be put in place. And even before we moved into blockchain, how do we able to have a selective disclosure of our credentials? And it's not an easy task, for that to take place. And you know that in the UK, we don't have any identity to a card, right? The only one we have is our passport or our driving license. And again, surprisingly, it was just launched, recently. And even with that, I mean, they are foreseeing there will be challenges. So they said that you still need to keep your hard copy driving license. But once you have the digital driving license, it will make your life easier. You could, buy alcohol if you need to, right? If you get a certain age, and if you need to have access to, NHS, medical health. So coming back, when it comes to digital identity, I mean, the way I see it is that, I mean, definitely we all need some form of way to keep our identity. And again, citizens, all of us, we want a form of identity that is easy for us to use, for easy to store and easy to if we need it for whatever purposes. And go back to the old time, we all carry our ID card, and wherever we go. So then the question is now with the technological advancement, how can we now, to have some form of digital identity to make our life easier, to transform, how we go about things in the daily life. And moving from there, of course, then we are moving to about what Gabriela was saying about how do we solve, the issues about people who do not have some kind of identity, and so how do we go about it? Blockchain could be a solution, but again, why we have not seen that, I mean, up to this point. And I would say that, first of all, I guess the challenge is it come back to digital literacy. And, lots of people probably have, no clue about how to use, basic, technological, tools. And of course, we have the digital divide. And not everyone who have access, to the mobile phones, the mobile apps that allow you to even, to have some form of digital identity. So it's almost how we got to solve that problem first. And then following on, you might need to increase the awareness, why we need digital identity. Then we can come back to how do we solve the technological problems, what are solutions, whether the technologies can talk to each other, the right platforms, for blockchains and all the standards. And then, of course, there's also legal requirements and compliance, GDPR, data, privacy, security issues. So I would say that it's not an easy task, but there are many challenges out there awaiting us, to solve. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your answer. It really brings me to the next question. We hear a lot of private initiatives, company profile. We speak about electric car, for example. We talk about a decentralized blockchain. What is the role that governments or international organizations, but the public needs to play to regulate or create a framework in this topic?
I come back to the first question of you. When Sandra Bullock lost her identity, you saw the movie. So I say Switzerland is still a banana city. You know this, a banana country. Huh?
No, that's my You made a mistake there.
Entonces hablamos español, señora, con mucho gusto. Trabajé en Colombia por Pablo Escobar. No.
Con Pablo.
Okay. Coming back, it's a really serious question. I'm really concerned. I started with the storytelling, and I'm now more than 8 years MP. And I tell you honestly, 90% or more are not aware what's going on. That's why I said as a board member, I'm still not keen to give this Chinese company the right to get a contract with us with the cars, because I don't know where is going my identity. So you ask me, I answer in a short nutshell, because I'm a politician and I talk now the next 2 hours and so blah, blah, blah. Key roles of governments in securing digital identity systems while also emphasizing the international dimensions of digital governance and collaboration. As I mentioned, I'm also involved in the AI Act, now in the Council of Europe for Human Rights. It's not the EU Parliament. And it outlines both the national and global responsibilities governments must take on to ensure that digital identity remains a trustworthy and equitable tool for all. And now you understood why I started with this story. I'm a proud Swiss Indian, but still I think Switzerland has a lot of homework to do. The first question I mentioned, when I started about talking cybersecurity in the National Council, they were laughing about me. And that's why I invited you to come to the Swiss Cybersecurity Days, 18th and 19th in Bern Expo. You type scsd.ch, Swiss Cybersecurity Days.ch. And I try now, and that's, I'm really happy to meet you, to find a solution. And now I play the multiplicator. We need you all here, not only we three. You are our multiplicators. And go out, shout it out. Tell everybody what's going on. I can be proud. I was an abandoned child in India. I got a Swiss passport. I'm all over the world, but that's a blessing. And today we are a small round, but I'm happy. I prefer quality than quantity. So you are our people who go and multiplicate our issue, which we are talking today. That's once again, I say thank you, and that's why I said. To your question, what is trustworthy?
Just want to echo what Nick was saying about, now digital footprints of all of us, could be everywhere, right? You don't need to own a Tesla car, as you said, for them to know about us. And so I guess that is the challenge here about security, and privacy aspect. And so then it comes back to now in the context of our identity, then how do we address that? Right, to make sure that there will be some form of way, to make sure that it is secured. But over the years, we have seen things have changed, right? The technology is getting more and more now. And of course, it's not just about having a data about us, like a driving license or passport, our date of birth, but even of course now identity can come from biometrics. So I guess that is what I think, like the awareness of what you just said about people have no clue. So going back to that digital literacy, and awareness and what needs to be kept or how things should be kept, and stored. That is something I think we all need to be more aware about. Yeah.
I would like to add something there. The other reason why I thought about blockchain, it was because it could mitigate corruption. With the blockchain, some say is immutable. Some say some say it doesn't because then it goes with smart contracts and wallets, and then it goes a little bit, out of control. All these mathematic formulas, because it's all about algorithms. But it's transparent. This is the very interesting thing. If when you come from originally, even though I'm also Swiss nowadays, if you come from a country like Venezuela and you see that your passport is being sold out to other nationals in other continents, and that the people who get the passport actually get the name or last name changed or civil status changed just because they want money, I thought blockchain could be a possibility in these authoritarian states. That's what I thought, and that this control authority would be like displaced or put aside for something new if we get into a transition into democracy. This is also what I thought the blockchain would be interesting. Of course, we will never, we shouldn't always keep both the digital document and the printed document for different reasons. But I also thought trafficking, for example, trafficking of people. If you get to lose your passport during this paths through migration in this movement in Latin America or even in Africa or the Middle East, you get sometimes confiscated this passport or you lose them and you get into these criminal organizations. And I thought at the beginning with with these organizations, I am sharing this problem with we thought maybe if we could have a digital document, we could track that down and prove who we are whenever we escape these situations. And this was another reason why we thought about blockchain.
No, again, right from the start, for people to get into it, they need to know they need to trust that, right? Even you say that, okay, now we give you a platform, blockchain solution, and that your identity will be, kept really secured, and then would they trust that, right? Would they even believe in that and even know how to really use that? That I think is a challenge. A lot of countries out there, now they are doing is that quite often is to start something that is quite kind of simple. Like, as I said, UK driving license. Singapore, some of my family members are Singaporean, and they have the SingPass. So when SingPass was introduced, it was quite simple. It's a form of your identity that allow you to have access to all the platforms that you need. I think more than 150 services from the government agencies. They will help you to track, tax and all form. And when it was launched, the elderly, the not so educated, really fearful of that. And they have to even have digital ambassadors, working with companies, to help them to come to understand that you need to start to have that digital identity. Okay, you can keep your ID, physical ID somewhere, and because some elderly would say that they used to never take it with them because they're afraid of losing it. But when it comes to time they need it, they still need to provide that. So it's always still need to come back. How do we solve these issues about people would understand what is DID? And would they trust, a DID? So again, this is something for us to, think about. Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting point, and thank you. I think we probably all talk about this topic of trust, which is the basics of identity. Is it trustable? Is it reliable? Is it neutral in a way? Where I'm a little bit puzzled or thinking along what you're saying, we talk about UK, Singapore, and Switzerland has its own projects as well, and most countries. Is it something that has to be done at the national level, or could we get some kind of international standards, but then there might be different standards? So what are your thoughts, Nick, about something internationally in terms of a reliable form of digital identification?
Look, it's a very difficult question. I can play with you. What do you think?
Please.
Grace, please.
So I was speaking to you earlier. We can't get the airlines to have the same data format for flights. So I think that we'll get something like flight aggregators for interoperability of multiple standards. And even in Switzerland, the cantons all use different digital
Federalism.
Yeah, because of the fact. So if Switzerland cannot get a standard within Switzerland, nowhere else has hope. But I think interoperability and the ability, just like a flight aggregator figures that out for you, there will be ways to interoperate different types of formats.
Grace always talks about we need interoperability and then for the scalability to start with, and yeah.
But it's a very good example you made. In this December session, 24, in the Swiss National Council, it was a big discussion, especially in between the datas for the airlines. And I tell you, you can go and Google it. Switzerland is there also a little bit stubborn. And that's why I mean it's a very tricky question. Sure, I stand in my view because I always hope the best. But it's not so easy. How you can convince even Europe? Can you imagine even Europe? Please take over.
No, I mean, like, we got to start somewhere. I mean, the world is moving forward. Technological, like, is everywhere now. What I understand, the Estonia, I mean, of course, is a champion when it comes to EID, and the electronic signature. Now, my understanding is now is acceptable, in all over Europe now. So again, this is the one good example how we got to start somewhere and start recognizing the standards, the how the system could actually talk to each other and would accept that. Yeah.
For example, the qualified electronic signature. I was working on that 24 years ago with the International Telecommunication Union. Nobody knew about it. Nobody could understand what is private key, public key. Nobody could not understand. They didn't care about electronic signature and about trust. But nowadays, the qualified electronic signatures, we use it on every day in our work, and I can select whether if it's a document for Europe or if it's a document for Switzerland. So I can select that, and that exists since a long time. So of course it's a matter of trust, and the conclusion in the Digital Identity and Conference Europe was the same. Trust. We need trust, but we need a strong legal frameworks too. And but this is coming. So we should not be just stopped in this discussion. We should just go forward. It's not in 2026 that the EID will start in Switzerland. It already has cantons working with the EID, like Zug, etc., and Schwyz, I think. And so they are doing their pilots just to see how it works, and also to do literacy and to teach people, to do capacity building with the people by using, by experience, experiencing this thing. And there are more than 60 countries working with the EIDs in different levels, different interoperability is a disaster, but even the World Bank is financing these things. In Ethiopia, for example, and in countries that one would say, I mean, Europeans would say, in vulnerable countries or least developed countries, well, is exactly there where they are developing this technology. Why? I have no idea. But you can see also the case of Bhutan. You can see there are many cases. India also has its own. And there was an issue also with some strange discriminatory policy that they took away. They revoked some certificates for some communities, and it was, and that raised awareness on us to say, hey, also in some countries that are supposed to be democratic, they could revoke the certificate with which the e-passport was issued, and then you have no identity anymore, like also happened in Brazil. Of course, yes, there are risks, but we have to take it little by little.
Thank you very much. We just try to give you a glimpse on these very complex topics. There is passion in the room here. There's passion on the stage. There's much more to the story and the points that what you just heard. And please don't hesitate to connect to our three wonderful guests on LinkedIn and maybe to hear more about what the work they do. But to close this discussion, just to give you, if possible in 1 minute, what is the most important message we should know about this topic from your perspective? Maybe we start with you, Vincent.
Yeah, again, I would say that we got to start somewhere, right? Every country, every nation, and also we need partnership. It's not about just the government that is driving it because they want the data about us or they want to have that control. But at the same time, citizens, we need to have platforms for them to raise their concerns, their views, to build trust. And so there will be a partnership. There's always a saying, right? The citizens may not trust the government, but they trust their bank, right? Because the money is in the bank. So then, how do we work with bank? In the sense, to build, a digital identity that is a trustworthy, reliable, and safe. And lastly, I would say that the digital divide. How can we need to resolve that, and digital literacy for the public, and it should be for the common good, right? At the end of the day, the idea.
Sorry. In conclusion, first it needs integrity and privacy. And as I mentioned, it needs a strong technical measure. And now I come to the point which you mentioned. There are 60 not stable states. 60% are not so stable, huh?
Yeah.
You mentioned.
Yeah.
So I come back to my point. Robust governance, frameworks which are transparent,
Yeah.
and continuous vigilance. So by following this best practice, we can build trust in digital IT systems. And I stand for trust. As I mentioned, what is most needed? Trust. I lost sometimes my trust. Everybody calls me a sunshine, but sometimes I lose my trust.
But then, apart from trust, then we need accountability.
Yeah, sure.
That's totally important. But I would keep it to from the NGO point of view, from the civil society, from the organized civil society point of view. I would say we need to raise awareness about this problem. The 1 billion people without identity is unbelievable. That we are human beings here and nobody cares about these 1 billion people. That could be integrated, working, included, creating taxes, etc., and enjoying the economic, civil, political, cultural, etc., human rights. And we need to advocate for human rights integration in the design, implementation, and governance of EID systems. And we need to stop thinking only about privacy rights. We need to start thinking also about other human rights, education and healthcare and financial possibilities, work. I mean, if you don't have an ID, you cannot work. These are other human rights that should be taken into consideration when we talk about these technologies and how could we solve this issue. And we need to participate in policy making and implementation to ensure EID inclusive and non-discriminatory regulations that consider possible impacts on diverse groups, share practical use cases to be avoided in the future, and of course share existing best practices, that there are best practices. Estonia was there already in 2000. It's been 24 years that we could have learned already from Estonia. Promote the formal recognition of civil society organizations as partners in designing, implementing, and or testing digital identification systems would also be a possibility. Demand transparency in all phases of national digital identification projects. That would be very important, from the diagnostic to the operation part. And I think I should stop here because you were saying, oh my God, this list is getting long. Okay, no.
So yeah, thank you. And I think it's so amazing following this discussion about trust, about human rights. And I also take it that we all have a role to play. Would it be as politicians, as policymakers? Would it be as government? Would it be as business leaders? But before all, as citizen. So thank you for listening to this conversation, and
Thank you very
stay in
much.
touch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.